Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I really just wanted to sit down and have a really open and honest chat with you all just about different life updates. I did a Q&A on Instagram a few days ago, so I thought I would use those questions as well as the ones that I asked all of you in my YouTube community just to keep the conversation going. And yeah, it's been a while since I have filmed a life update. There's been a lot that has happened this year, so grab a cup of coffee or your choice of beverage, let's sit down and let's just catch up. Okay, so we are jumping right in with the first question. Reflecting on all of 2023, what is one lesson I learned that I will carry with me into 2024? Honestly, when I think of this question, this is an answer that I will not only carry with me into 2024, but I will carry with me into the rest of my life, and that is the importance of time with your family and loved ones, as well as taking care of your health. Without going into too many details, this has been honestly one of the hardest years for Eric and I that we have probably ever experienced as a couple. And before anybody jumps to conclusions, both Eric and I are fine. We are happy and love. All of that is good. Our health is good. But there's just been a lot of things going on with our family, like behind the scenes, that has been really, really hard. And it has been a very difficult year. And it has really taught me the importance and the value of spending quality time with your family and your loved ones, and just being appreciative for your health and the time that you do have with the people in your life. Okay, next question. Do I ever get sleep with my job? Definitely not enough. I guess I can answer this question in a few different ways. So if you are referring to can I sleep on the job? The answer is yes and no. When I'm working flights, I am not allowed to sleep depending on the route. So if I'm doing a longer international flight, for example, from Philadelphia to Amsterdam, I am given a sanctioned sleep break, like a rest break on those flights. But if it's just a domestic flight, even a red eye, no, I am not allowed to sleep on those flights. But yeah, sometimes I do think I definitely need more sleep because sometimes our layovers are really short, and so I try to make up for it by sleeping a lot at home. Another very interesting question: what are some of the biggest challenges Eric and I have faced as a couple? So as soon as I saw this question, I actually asked Eric last night what he thought the biggest challenges that we have faced as a couple have been, and we both came up with the same answer, and that was not only the first year that we lived together, but the year and a half prior to that. So the year and a half prior to that, Eric was still in grad school and I had finished school. I wasn't going to grad school, and we were long distance. That was obviously really hard, being long distance from someone. And at this time, I had just become a flight attendant. I was working for Horizon Airlines. It's Alaska Airlines Regional, based in Seattle. And then I was with that job for 5 months, and then I was given a training date at my current airline, so I took that. And then once Eric had his last, I want to say it was like semester of school, it was like his last 6 months of college, we moved in together in Texas, which was obviously wonderful. But his school schedule, even though it was online, was so jam-packed and so difficult that he just did not have time to get a job. And so we were solely relying on my new hire income as a flight attendant. As flight attendants, we do not make a lot of money when we start. When I first started, I made $27,000 for the entire year. And so for us trying to live together, like me, Eric, and Luna, and budget, it was not easy. And plus I had to fly so much just to even make that. And so we moved in together, but I was gone and I was flying so much that it almost didn't even feel like we were together. I only had maybe 5 days off the entire month that I was home for the entire day. And so that was definitely a really big struggle, was us figuring out how to navigate my job as a flight attendant, him in grad school, while we were also feeling very financially tight. We have never budgeted harder in our entire lives than we did that first year that we lived together. I have two other challenges that I'm comfortable talking about on YouTube in terms of my relationship with Eric. Is the other biggest challenge that we have had to navigate as a couple is honestly when we both retired from our sports. I was a gymnast for 17 years. Eric was a soccer player, I think, for 18 to 20 years. And so that took up such a big part of our identity that it was really difficult difficult for both of us to find who we were and to figure out our identities outside of our sports, while also being in a relationship and at the same time giving each other space to learn who we are as individuals. And trying to navigate that as a young couple was pretty challenging. I would say that this year too has been a very challenging year for us. Eric lost his grandfather, and so we were dealing with that grief, and then a very close family member became very ill, which is one of the main reasons that prompted our very quick move out here. So, you know, between a family member getting ill, grief from losing a family member, and then having to break our lease and just move here, it has been a very stressful and challenging year for us. But I do feel like a lot of these things can either make or break a couple. This year, as tough as it has been, I do feel like Eric and I are even stronger as a couple than we were the year prior. Okay, on a much lighter note, what are the top 5 books that I have read this year, as well as the best series I've read this year? I'm gonna say off the top of my head that the best series I have read this year is the Throne of Glass fantasy series by Sarah J. Maas. And what's funny is I'm not even done with this series yet, but I don't want it to end. I am getting ready to start the last book, and oh my gosh, this series has just been amazing. If you like fantasy, I highly recommend. This has definitely been my best reading year in terms of the amount of books that I have read, and I'm gonna say that is probably because it has been a really hard year for us. I have needed that coping mechanism and that escape from reality, and also I love to read, so it kind of just went hand in hand. Let me look at my Goodreads right now so I can tell you guys how many books I have read this year so far. I have currently read 65 books this year. Originally my goal was 50, so I definitely surpassed that. How I have enough time to read is I don't watch a lot of TV, I don't watch a lot of movies, I don't, like if I'm not working out, working a flight, filming or editing YouTube videos, I am typically reading. I just try to make it a priority, and I also do read very quickly. But getting back to the best books that I have read this year, I would say the #1 book that I have read this year is Fourth Wing, and I'm currently waiting on my copy of Iron Flame, which is the second to get here. And Fourth Wing is about this group of kids. They're like in college, I guess, but it's a dragon riding college, and it is just incredible. There is war, there's betrayal, there's enemies to lovers, there's dragons. I mean, it is just so good. The second best book that I have read this year is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. It is a very cute, fluffy romance that also tugs at your heartstrings. And then I'm going to loop these 2 books together because honestly, to me, it just felt like one really long book, even though it's 2, and that is Haunting Adeline followed by Hunting Adeline. Although I will say these books are extremely dark, so definitely check the trigger warnings on those if you want to read them, but I became obsessed. I now love the author and have read everything that she has written. Another book that really stood out to me this year was Kyland, and that is by Mia Sheridan. This is a romance book, but it's not fluffy, but it's not dark either, but it is sad, like it pulls at your heartstrings, but it is so beautifully written, and I still think about those characters every day. And then I'm gonna say that the 5th best book that I have read this year is Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Now this is part of the Throne of Glass series, so you cannot read it as a standalone, but again, like I said, I do highly recommend that series. But since we are on the topic of books, there are a few other honorable mentions. So if you like fantasy, I would highly recommend the From Blood and Ash series. It was really good. It's a vampire romance. You'd Be Home Now and Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow were both really sad but eye-opening and beautifully written books. And yeah, those are just the books that I have read this year that have stood out to me the most. How are you at the moment? I hope you're happy. Thank you so much. At this very moment, I am feeling happy and I'm feeling good. I've definitely been experiencing the holiday blues lately. Every year I do experience a little bit of seasonal depression just as the colder months come in and it's not as sunny outside, like it gets darker a lot earlier. I just feel like that does affect me a little bit, but I am trying very hard to stay in the holiday spirit, and actually the next video I film after this is going to be about that, like doing things that are fun and that bring me joy and and getting myself into the holiday spirit to beat that little bit of seasonal depression and holiday blues that I get. But in this very moment, I am doing very good, so thank you for asking. What is my star sign? Okay, so I'm assuming you're asking for my astrological signs. So I am a Cancer, but what's really funny is I was born July 22nd at 12:01 midnight. So I was almost born the day before, but I was literally born at 12:01 midnight, and I'm born right on the cusp between Leo and Cancer. So according to some people, I'm a Leo, and then according to others, I am a Cancer. I'm actually looking on this app just to verify what I am, but my sun sign is Cancer, my moon sign is Gemini, and my rising sign is Taurus. Do I still have my reading channel? Yes, I do. So my reading channel is called Julia Jean, but I am actually brainstorming ideas for next year. I want to turn that channel into more of a just complete lifestyle channel, so not just reading, but lifestyle topics as well. So just day-to-day living, and I don't know, just kind of like whatever I feel like filming. But one thing I have learned this year, it is really difficult to navigate two channels while also being a flight attendant, while also trying to have a life outside of work. So that is kind of like my goal going into next year, is trying to figure out how I want to keep both channels alive. And that might mean some months I upload on Jetting Julia, and some months I upload more on my Julia Jean channel, and just, I don't know, just trying to navigate it and see how that works. But I definitely still have that channel, and I do plan to upload a lot more on that channel next year. I might take like a small break with Jetting Julia, but I will never quit YouTube as a whole. I will always be on either channel. So you guys, you can't get rid of me. Have I ever had to kick a passenger off a flight? Yes, I have. And it actually was this year, was one instance where I had to kick a passenger off a flight. So I was getting ready to do my exit row briefing. If you've never sat in an exit row on an airplane, they typically have a lot more legroom, but you have to pay extra, at least at my airline, to sit in the exit row. And as flight attendants, we do not give upgrades. A lot of people assume that we do, but at least at my airline, we do not. I cannot upgrade you to first class. I cannot upgrade you to an exit row. Also, on my little tablet at work, I can see who is supposed to be sitting in the exit row. I can see how many people are going to be there and whatnot. I'm getting ready to do my exit row briefing, and there is someone sitting there who was not supposed to be there. And so I asked him for his name, and he told me his name, and I figured out the seat that he was supposed to be sitting in. But just to verify with him, I asked to see his boarding pass. And so he showed me his boarding pass, and it was not the exit row seat. And so I just kindly told him, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I think you have the wrong seat. According to your boarding pass, you were supposed to sit in, I don't know, it was like a different seat, you know, blah, blah, blah." And then he looks at me and he goes, "But this row has more leg room." And I looked at him and I said, jokingly, I was like, "Yeah, you're right, it does. That is why people pay extra to sit here." I basically told him again, I said, "I need to have you sit in your assigned seat. You cannot sit here because people pay extra money to sit in these seats. Even if a seat in that row is available, I cannot give the upgrade. You would have to talk to the agent. I don't let anybody sit in the exit row who's not supposed to be there, because it's not fair to the paying passengers who pay that extra money to sit there. If I just willy-nilly let anybody sit there, then what's the point of paying for that seat?" And this man did not like my answer. And he started yelling profanities at me. He started screaming at me. He started causing an entire scene, to be quite honest. And at that point, another male flight attendant got involved as well and was saying the same information to him that I gave. And then at that point, he still was not moving, and so we had to get the captain involved. When this passenger is screaming profanities at me and is threatening me, he was not safe to fly with us anymore. The captain made the decision that this passenger, given the circumstances, it was not okay for him to fly with us. And so we had to have a manager come on and essentially tell him that he cannot take this flight with us. So anyway, that whole thing was a mess, and it kind of had me shaken up a little bit, because when someone who is almost twice your size, this was a very large gentleman, is screaming at my face and dropping F-bombs and is causing an entire scene, it's a bit frightening. And so honestly, I'm really glad that the other flight attendant and the captain and the manager got involved, and you know, he was not able to fly with us that day. What is the story and meaning behind my necklace? So let's see if you guys can see it. So it's like a half moon shape, and then I have a little L charm right here. So I wear this necklace every day. Eric bought me this necklace right here, the half moon shape, for my 21st birthday. It was his first birthday gift to me ever, and originally it represented tiger teeth because I love tigers. Tigers are my favorite animal, but I feel like now it really represents our dog Luna, which is really special, and then the L charm is for Luna. But I just love this necklace, and I feel like it's become a part of me, so I wear it every day. Do I plan on getting any more tattoos, and will I let you guys know if I do? Yes and yes. So I think it's really funny when people comment on my Instagram or on my YouTube and tell me, don't get a tattoo, it'll ruin you, you'll regret it, don't get a tattoo, why would you do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, little did you know, I've had a tattoo on my back for 10 years now. And no, I have not once ever regretted it a single day of my life. It says gymnast with a red heart around it, and I got it when I received my scholarship to the University of Denver for gymnastics. I got it because it was just such a big part of my identity, being a gymnast, and I struggled a lot throughout my childhood with injuries, having a bleeding disorder, and just sticking it out all those years, like not knowing if I was going to make it to college. And I just feel like it was such a big accomplishment in my life to receive that scholarship, and it was just the culmination of all of my hard work over those years that I wanted to have something to remember that by, and that is my tattoo, and I absolutely love it. But you know what, I'm not going to tell you guys what the next tattoos are that I want, because I just want to get them. I don't want any negative opinions from anybody on the internet before I go get those done, and you guys will see them after I get them done. What would my job be if I wasn't a flight attendant? So I think 5 years ago, my job would have been a journalist or a news anchor, because that is actually what I went to school for. At the University of Denver, I majored in journalism, and then I double minored in psychology and communication studies. I used to want to be a news anchor so bad, and I think it's funny because now it's like I'm still on camera, but with my own YouTube channel, so I get to use my degree in my own way, and I get to tell my own stories exactly how I want to. However, now, if I wasn't a flight attendant, I think my job would be a YouTuber. Like, I think I would just still continue doing YouTube videos and being a content creator, and then I think I also would love to work at a bookstore too. I think that would be really fun. Now, if we are looking a few years into the future, if I wasn't a flight attendant, what I would be doing is I would still be a content creator of some sort, because I don't ever see myself leaving this industry, like leaving YouTube. I just absolutely love it. But I also could see myself as a mom, which I haven't talked about a lot here on my channel, but I definitely could see myself as a mom one day. And I do think that being a parent is a job. Being a parent absolutely is a job. Oh, and then that's really funny because the next question is about the future. It asks, do I think Eric and I will get married? And the answer to that is yes, I do think we will get married, but no, I do not know when. A lot of people just assume that we've been together all of these years and that we have never once discussed marriage or timeline or goals for the future, and I just want to put it out there too that there is no right or wrong time to marry someone, to be in a relationship with someone. You can take as much or as little time as you feel is necessary before you make those lifelong commitments, and there is nothing wrong with that. No matter what society tells you, no matter what people on the internet tell you, it is your life, it is your decision, and you get to make those choices yourself. And you should do your best to not allow outside pressure to make those choices for you, and to not feel guilty about them either. Will we ever go on a cruise again, and what vacations do Eric and I have planned? Yes, we absolutely will go on a cruise again. We did not go this year just because, like I've mentioned a few times, it's been a really hard year for us, and it just didn't seem like the year for us to take a vacation. But we already have a vacation planned for next year. We will be in St. Lucia for an entire week, and I'm very excited about that because we will actually be there for my best friend Tiffany's wedding. And then I don't know, we'll see if Eric and I want to take any other vacations outside of that, but we have loved the few cruises that we have been on and would definitely love to go on more in the future. What has been my favorite memory this year? Okay, so I think this is really cute, and it's sort of like an ongoing memory. So Luna has started doing this thing where every morning between the hours of like 4 to 7 a.m. she wakes up from her bed, she perks up, and then she starts like smacking her tail on the bed to wake me up a little bit. And then she just jumps up by my side and curls up next to me and sleeps until our alarms go off, typically at around like 7 or 8 a.m. And I just think it is so cute that she does that. It's like she wants to get her morning snuggles in, and then, I don't know, just the three of us like warm and cozy in bed. It's just heartwarming, and it's just one of those moments where I was talking about earlier where like those like moments of love and time with your family are just so meaningful, and those moments, like that is what I remember the most and cherish the most from this year. What are some of my goals for 2024 and what were my goals for 2023? Did I achieve them or no? So honestly, I don't really have many goals for 2024 yet. I haven't really thought about that. I will probably think more about that in January because I do like to make goals every year. Some of my goals for 2023, one was to create a second channel, which I did do that. One was to hit 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that did not happen, but that is okay. Another goal of mine was every video that I put out on YouTube to make sure that it is what I feel like is my best quality, and that I just didn't try to quickly fling something together. Like, I wanted it to be something that I was very proud of, and I can definitely say that. I didn't upload as many YouTube videos this year as I have in previous years, but I can say that every video I did make, I feel like was high quality, and I'm really proud of. What is my ideal cozy book time? Do I prefer to be home or away? Do I want to have tea, music, candles, etc.? Describe, or better yet, film it for us. So I do think I should, on my second channel, definitely film like my perfect cozy book night. I think that would be really fun. But just to quickly answer your questions, I prefer reading at nighttime, although I do read during the day too, but I prefer it at nighttime. I'm pretty indifferent about if I'm home or away, but my perfect cozy night would be at home with Luna snuggled up next to me on the couch, definitely tea, and then I do listen to background music while I'm reading. Typically it's like a fire crackling or light piano music. I don't like listening to music that has lyrics in it while I'm reading because then I can't focus on what I'm actually reading, but I do like just the plain background noise of like an ambiance sound. Are both of my jobs as a flight attendant and a YouTuber full-time? How do I manage both? Okay, this is a really good question. So I would say neither are full-time, but in combination, I definitely work full-time. I have a very full schedule. Sometimes I feel very overwhelmed and stressed and like I'm ready to rip my hair out because I just feel like I'm so overwhelmed with work. And that is something that I've really worked on this year, is trying to balance my work life, personal life, all of that, like trying to balancing all of that. And I feel like I've done a much better job this year than I have in previous years. When I first started flying, I was absolutely full-time. I worked weekends, holidays, as much as possible, but I do feel like 5 years into the job now, I have a lot more flexibility and I don't need to work as much as I used to. And also, since my YouTube channel has grown, I love doing YouTube. It is my passion as well as flying. And so I really enjoy the aspects of YouTube where I can film my trips and then also film at home and work from home and get to spend that quality time with Eric and Luna at home as well while I'm working, and he works from home too, so it all just works out. But yeah, it definitely can be a lot to balance. Sometimes it does still feel like having full-time jobs, especially during the busy seasons as a flight attendant, like summer, winter flying, and spring break, for example. But I don't know, I make it work and I try to not put a lot of pressure on myself. How often do I have medical emergencies in flight? This is a good one. I would say that I have medical emergencies probably once or twice a year. I guess those would be the major ones, like the ones where we feel it's necessary to page for a doctor on board. But smaller medical emergencies, like someone throwing up, someone just not feeling super well, stuff like that, that probably happens like once a month. How has my ADHD been this year in comparison to previous years? Honestly, it has kind of been a nightmare, and I'm not saying that to be negative, but it's just the truth. During the pandemic years, so like 2020, 2021, even a little bit into 2022, there became a mass shortage in ADHD medications, and that is because there was just like this really big boom of people being diagnosed. And so at that point, it made it very, very difficult for me to get my normal medication that I have been on since I was 17. So this is not just some new medication for me. It wasn't some big old grand thing. And then I want to say it was in like 2021 or 2022. One of the manufacturers that created my medication closed down. So that obviously created an even bigger shortage. And so in 2022 and throughout this year, I have been working with my doctor and my new doctor here in Pennsylvania about what medication will work the best for me. And I just haven't found it yet. Like, I just hadn't found that medication that I felt like worked really well for me. Because, for example, I would take one medication and it would help with my ADHD tendencies, but then it would give me anxiety. And so it was like, well, I don't want one medication that works for this, but then gives me this, you know, it just wasn't gonna work for me. And so it's been an interesting challenge trying to navigate all of that, as well as just doing like home treatments and just different things to help myself with my ADHD. Recently, I was talking to my doctor here in Pennsylvania, and she was telling me that the medication that I had been on since I was 17 is now back on the market and is available here. And so I got so excited. She sent my prescription in and my insurance denied it, which, let me just say, that made me so angry. Like, how is it that an insurance company is going to deny me this medication that I have previously been on since I was 17? So with that said, this medication, if I did not pay for it with insurance, it was going to cost me $200 for a 2-week supply. So without insurance, if I wanted this specific medication that I know works really well for me, it was going to cost me $400 a month. And I just can't afford that. That is so much money. I don't know who can afford that. So after battling it out with my insurance company, they will cover the generic version of my medication, but it's still expensive. It's $45 for a 2-week supply. So that means every month I will be paying about $90, which is better than $400, but I still consider that expensive. I'm going off on like a whole tangent right now, but insurance companies and big pharma, it just makes me kind of sick when you think about it. Like, I can function without my ADHD medication. I can. I did it in my first 17 years of living. I have done it before when there were the ADHD medication shortages and I could not get any meds anywhere. Like, I can function without it, but I function better with it and I live a better life with my medication. And I am not afraid to say that, and I do not feel ashamed, and neither should you. If there's a medication that you feel like truly helps you live a better life, you should not feel ashamed for taking it. I'm a huge advocate for that. But anyway, there are people out there for various reasons who have various health concerns, and their medications cost them $400, $500, $600 a month, up to $1,000 a month or more, and they cannot function without it. And it makes me livid that medication in general is that expensive and that unobtainable to some people. My camera battery died, so I came downstairs to get a new battery and finish the Q&A. Miss Luna decided to join me on the couch, but she's sitting all the way over there. You want to say hi, Luna? No, that's okay. Eric is in a meeting right now, so if you can hear his voice in the background, that is what is going on. One of the questions that someone asked was, what does Eric do for a living? And he is an enterprise solutions specialist for this company that is based in Texas, but he is able to work remotely, which is awesome. Another question was actually about Miss Luna, and it was, has she ever been to any type of doggy training school? And no, she has not. Eric read a bunch of dog training books and stuff like that when she was a puppy, and he trained her himself. You're such a good girl, huh? Hi, sweetheart. Another question was, am I excited to see snow this year in Pennsylvania? And my answer to that is yes and no. I am excited to see it, but I'm really hoping that it doesn't snow on the specific days that I have to drive to work. So I can do it. I know I can do it. I've driven in snow plenty of times before, but yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. Another question was, what books do I want to read in 2024? And let me show you. So if you haven't seen it before, this is my lovely bookshelf. It is my pride and joy. Ignore the dog hair that is on the floor right there. We need to vacuum. But this is my TBR shelf right here. So these are books that I have not read yet, but that I own and I want to read. So this one is How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow. This one is Dark Matter by by Blake Crouch. And then this one is Credence by Penelope Douglas. I also really want to read the Crescent City fantasy series by Sarah J. Maas, so I have the first book right here. She is a chunky one. So I have the first one right here. I'll start with that, then read the second one, and then the third one comes out January 31st. And then I bought this book because I just loved the cover, and it is called Broken Bonds. It's part of the Bonds That Tie series. This is another fantasy series, so I'm very excited to start this one as well. If I can get to these ones by the end of this year, that will be great, but honestly, I am finishing the Throne of Glass series, reread Fourth Wing, and then read Iron Flame before the end of this year, and I have a few other books on my radar, so we'll see if I can get to them. Luna, why are you sitting like that with your eye all squished? Alright, you guys, last question is, how do I think my life will look this time next year in comparison to how my life looked this time last year? And oh my gosh, I honestly can't even explain what I think my life would look like at this point next year because so many changes happened this year. I mean, last year at this point we were living in Dallas and we had no intentions or plans to move, and then life happened and we ended up here. So, you know, I don't know. I kind of just want to go into this next year with a very open mind and with a lot of gratitude and love and just see where the year takes me. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the entirety of this video. I know that today's video is probably going to be a lot longer than my normal content, but I really wanted to just have this conversation with you guys and just answer as many questions as possible. So if you did like it, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe because I'd love to see you again in future videos. I hope that you all are having a fabulous holiday season, and I'll see you next time. Bye!